And the clear. How you doing? Pretty good. Long time no see.
Okay, guys, really quick. If you're a use pay, remember you can go ahead and get pizza, but they're recording outside, so just funnel towards the back and then come this way.
They don't mind if I'm able
I'm seeing on the journey, so if you're. No, the contact lady for
What?
So Presidente Alex. That's what I figured. So that's why I wasn't.
How about the tuition, all of them?
I've got all the kids from class, and I plan on studying. Right. Which it's not even, so I just wanted to make sure. What happens is that there's a low pressure that develops above the wing, and low pressure develops beneath the wing, and if you have a microburst or things like that, it swaps them, so it pulls the plane down. We had lots of very interesting conversations. Yeah, that was a lot.
All right, I'm gonna pass around the sign-in sheet. There's only one because there's not.
Actual president?
No, just a quick.
You want any
Did you just send us the check?
Yes, I got it. There.
I never know if it's time or days. But my
Oh my God.
Alex, you asked me about the.
Every animal.
After the. Hey guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started. The first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna invite Chris up here, and he's gonna talk a little bit about his internship that he had at a news station in Boston, and then yeah, Chris.
three. Hey everybody, I'm Chris Boone. This past summer, I interned at WBZ in Boston. So it was a Patriots fan. I'm not a Patriots fan, but I did get a Red Sox from basically my host family, who I basically had to stay with during my time up there. And since then, both the Patriots and the Red Sox have won championships. So I'm saying, if you guys want to give me an internship for your local sports team, feel free. Let's see here. So first of all, kind of introduce the team. Basically, starting up at the top left, that's kind of a unicorn in the weather communications world. They actually have a weather producer at the team, so he puts together a lot of the graphics and kind of streamlines the forecast as the shifts kind of change over. Danielle in the top middle, she did mornings. I didn't really work with her too much. Barry Burbank, he will hit 41 years at WBZ this March. So he's been there forever. Our chief, Eric Fisher, Pamela, who just switched over to the NBC affiliate in Boston. And then myself and Jacob Wyckoff, who kind of got cut off of that. If you went to the NWA meeting in St. Louis, you guys might have ran into Jacob. So why did I pick Boston? One of the big reasons was it kind of broke out of the comfort zone. I really didn't know a lot of people up there. I didn't have that kind of foundation of knowing the area. I had never been to Boston. It also kind of breaks into like new regional pockets. You'll find like schools kind of have like these little regional pockets of where they influence like the local stations around it. And so I was able to interact with some of the Penn State guys, some of the people who had degrees from other universities, basically not kind of in our local area. Another reason, it was paid. Obviously, a paid internship is always a good thing. And then I was also taking a position for the newsroom and then work with the weather side as well. So I got to do some producing and some shooting with reporters and other kind of the newsroom side of things. So it was a pretty valuable experience on that side. And then again, it's something new. I'd never really been to Boston. So kind of a quick comparison of like what big differences I saw versus a larger market, which they're right at number 10 versus like a medium and smaller markets. It was very center focused, very city focused. Everything was about Boston. It was a very small DMA, basically compressed due to the coast, and then you have larger cities just west of you. So everything kind of focused around what was going on in Boston versus a general area where you may look at what's going on in a more widespread area. Major sports teams, when you get to a larger market, you usually have a professional sports team, and your viewers are going to know what's going on with that team. When you have more of a widespread area, you focus on high schools and colleges that you may have, because you may not have a professional sports team in that area. Again, compressed DMA, I think that's also if you're on a coastal station, just because half your area is basically water. So you'll have to adjust for a boating forecast, but other than that, you have a large population that's kind of essentially compressed versus spread out. It was only maybe 100 miles north to south for DMA. And then there was also the kind of a national U.S. weather picture you kind of had to keep in mind. We produced a 5, 5:30, and a 6 o'clock show, but our chief meteorologist also did the CBS Evenings News. So he had to step away from Boston and then do a kind of a 2 to 3 minute hit on basically what was going on nationwide. And then Pixar didn't have it. So it's just one of those, take as many pictures as you can when you get your internship, just kind of have that proof that you did it. I also got to have a meeting up at the American Meteorological Society. Their headquarters is in Boston, right near the Public Gardens area. I got to go to a Boston Red Sox game. They beat the Yankees like 16-4 or something brutal. We had some weather push through during the actual game, so that was always fun. And then that was our little weather cave, if you will. And then what you want to come away with, I would say definitely want to try to get a demo reel of some sort. It's just something that you can use and kind of mix in with what you do here at Mississippi State. You kind of put the overall package, and then your classic meteorologist picture, you in front of the green screen, you in front of a podium with some weather in the background. Just kind of good to overhaul, kind of make your Twitter, your social media accounts with some of that fake it, you make it like look like you're already part of the job. Radar app was super crucial. We went out on a live shot with the chief, and we had a tornado warning, so we were both on radar scope. Whatever radar app you like on your phone, but something that has weather information. Make sure you take away your contact information from the people you did work with. I'd say make sure you also try to work with the producers as well, because they're just more people to network with than just the 4 or 5 meteorologists you may work with. And then make sure you have somebody who knows you want to use them as a reference. So usually whoever saw you have the most growth or most development, or who you worked with the most while you were there, someone who can really attest to what you did and what you've accomplished and how you've grown. So that's always good. And again, make sure they know that they're a reference so they're not getting a call out of the blue if you put them down. And that's it for my part. Any questions?
So I know you mentioned this was a paid internship, and that's super rare, like broadcast internships. Is this available for people to apply to now?
I believe so. So it's popped up. So what I took was a veteran CBS Corporation, and it was basically for the newsroom. And I basically called them and talked to them ahead of time, saying I want to make sure I can work with the weather team. I want to make sure I'll be able to split time. And because they were said yes, I basically took it on the account. And it was $11 an hour. So it's not bad. Whoever.
So kind of piggybacking up, and where can you find the application?
So this one, I mean, these are right now posted on CBS's website. They're connected through kind of just a general search engine through LinkedIn. I think NBC has theirs up. CNN has theirs up. Some of the, I think if you get like the bigger networks, they'll kind of go through the LinkedIn professional job routes, whereas maybe some of the smaller stations, they might not advertise it because they might not even have the idea that people want to come to their stations. And so when it comes to a smaller station, you may just want to reach out directly to that meteorologist or that news director if you happen to know.
Okay.
So you mentioned having a host family, what was that?
So this is the 6th connection. My sister's college roommate's husband's parents lived in Boston. And so that became rent-free, and basically lived with them for a month. And they're a great family, super great. They got me this t-shirt. They tried to set me into the Boston realm, and it was pretty fun. But yeah, they didn't really have it. Some of the paid internships do have some coordination with some housing, but housing is usually a challenge, and that was one of the challenges I had to deal with before I took this spot.
All right. All right, so next up we have Dr. Barrett Gutter, who Mike and Barrett drive around in the Mystery Machine for the storm chase trip.
All right.
All right, so you're talking about the storm chase. Mike's been doing the storm chase since '99, I believe. Is that right, Mike? And so we usually do 2 trips. We usually do an on-campus student trip and then a distance learning trip. So this is kind of where the dilemma rests right now. Our distance learning trip is currently full, and that runs kind of in later May. And so in order for us to run another storm chase, we would have to have probably about 7 or 8 students sign up for on campus. And on campus would typically leave right after graduation. So it'd be kind of in early May, early to mid-May, and we'll go anywhere from the Mexican border all the way up to the Canadian border, chasing storms, wherever we need to go. But that is why it is an expensive trip. And one thing I know is a hard part for a lot of people are internships during the summer, because usually people start internships right when they get out. But if you're a freshman or a sophomore, it's a good time to go. It'll really help you with your classes along the way going forward, especially mesoscale meteorology, which Dr. Brown teaches. Cost, it is not a cheap trip. All field courses are not cheap, but you're getting 3 credit hours. It's a 3 credit hour course, and we are in the field for 8 days. Okay, so basically 8 days of chasing. We would leave from Starkville. That's the difference between this trip and our distance learning trip. For our distance learning trip, we actually drive out to Oklahoma City. That's where all of our distance learning students fly into, and then we go from there. So the nice thing about leaving from here is we kind of have the advantage of going where we want right off the bat. So For resident and non-residents, very similar price because it is ran through our distance learning program, but you're looking at about $381 per credit hour, which comes out to be just over $1,100. And then we have a field course fee as well. All of our field courses have the same fee, whether you go to the Bahamas or Washington, and that's $1,350. That covers hotel rooms, gas, lodging, everything like that. So you're looking at about $2,400, $2,500. It's a little more for grad students. There will be down days. There are always down days when you're out in the Great Plains storm chasing, but we try to do fun things when we're out there. We'll go to Carlsbad Caverns. If we're in New Mexico, if we're in Texas, we'll go to Paladera Canyon. You know, if we're up further to the Northern Plains, we'll go to Mount Rushmore. We've been to into Colorado. So we've been a lot of places, and there will be down days, but we try to do fun educational stuff during those times. So we don't just sit around if there's nothing going on. We'll try to go do something fun. As far as the daily agenda, you're on the road a lot. I mean, we put 1 year alone, I think in 2013, we put on 6,000 miles in that short of time. But it's basically every morning, wake up, get breakfast. We try to stay at Holiday Inn Express because they have complimentary breakfast. Morning briefing and discussion. Dr. Brown and myself will lead the discussion in the morning, kind of go over what's going to happen on the day, where we're going to or what our plan is. And then we'll do some analysis in the van. I always am doing radar. Mike's always driving because Mike will get sick if he rides. So he has to drive. And then lunch, question mark. It's usually a lot of gas station food, but we'll try to go get decent meals when we can. Then we'll go to the destination, wherever that will be. One of Mike's mottos is I'd rather be there 2 hours early than 2 minutes too late. So we always try to get there early, hang out, go to a park, throw the football around, stuff like that. Do more analysis, go to a new destination if we need to, and then we'll go chase storms wherever they develop. And then sometimes it's dinner if y'all are acting good, and then we'll head to the hotel. It can be late nights. We'll get into the hotel sometimes at 10, sometimes at 2 in the morning. That's a rare occasion, but it's happened before because sometimes you're in the middle of nowhere and the closest hotel is a ways away. All right, so the purpose of this course is basically a real world practice in forecasting, observing and recording of severe storms in the Great Plains. Okay, so you're going out there, and the purpose of this trip is not to get as close to a tornado as we can get. It's for you to see the actual structure of the system. Okay, I've gotten to the point where I would much rather be 5 or 10 miles away. You can see the whole structure, you can see the updraft rotating, but you can still see the tornado on the ground. We're not there to get as close as we possibly can. We do a lot of satellite and radar analysis in the van. So you'll learn a lot about satellite and radar, what we're looking for using those products, as well as scale analysis and forecasting. So we'll be going over all kinds of charts with you in the van. We'll be doing it in morning briefings, and especially if you're younger, if you're a freshman or sophomore, don't be intimidated by that, but this will really help you out going into your upper level courses, such as mesoscale meteorology. When I went, the first year I went, I was a first year grad student. I went in the summer. I did not have mesoscale meteorology yet, but it was a very big help to actually see these storms in the field rather than just in a textbook when they're just a still picture. All right, and so these are two of the models you'll learn about. This is the Klimt model on the left and the Lemon-Dazwell model on the right, but this is the stuff you'll learn about in mesoscale meteorology. So you start to actually get to see all of this work out in the field. Okay, so that's the main purpose of this course. Here are some of the pictures. If you want to turn off those lights, you might see it better. Of some of the tornadoes we've seen. 2013 was definitely our best year. We saw the largest hail in the U.S. that year. It was in Mankato, Kansas. It was 5 1/4 inches in diameter. We saw the El Reno tornado, the Bennington tornado that year. We were on a severe tornado warning storm every day that year. So we didn't have any down days that year, but that was just a crazy year in itself. I was going to show you a few videos. We tend to do time-lapse videos and take a lot of pictures when we're out there. This was from a storm in Kansas. But one of my favorite things about this is you can really see how well the updraft is rotating. You can see it. Sorry, it's a little small and grainy, but can you see the updraft right here? You can actually see it really turning. And then another thing you'll notice is you're gonna see a cloud develop, a horizontal cloud basically develop right here, which is known as an inflow stinger, which you'll learn about later. But the nice thing about chasing in the Great Plains during the summer is you can chase till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, depending on where you're located. Oops, what did I do? All right, this is actually, we chased the El Reno tornado, and I'm gonna show you this video. So, I'll say it again. All right, so this is gonna be really hard to see. It was grainy. This video is pretty grainy. Back in 713 technology is what it is today. But when we get close to these telephone poles, you'll be able to see. Can you see the width of it right here?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, I'm sure it's hard to see, but that was the tornado that got to be 2.6 miles wide. So it gets to a point up here where you're going to start to lose the right edge of the storm, and then you start to lose the left edge of the storm. You can't even really see, actually see the tornado anymore. It's gotten so big. But you can actually see some shingles being pulled off of that house from the inflow, and then you'll notice, watch that barn.
And bye-bye.
He'll get taken out. Only like 5 cows were killed in that barn. I'm just kidding. It was just hanging there.
Oh.
And then this video, this was just kind of a funny video because after we went south of the storm, we went to watch. And so this is the road we were going south on. It crossed over that road and it was out in this field. And we were out there watching the storm. We didn't even realize that we were by a prison.
No.
And a lot of the inmates came out and kind of started, they hadn't seen women in a while, so they were kind of, amped up. So we were asked politely to leave. But if I can get the flag. So I'll point out where the tornado is. It's right here. But so everyone's standing out here, and then you'll just kind of watch us herd back to the van.
Like a good time.
So y'all need to leave. So just by raising your hand, how many people in here are interested? Okay, quite a few. That's good. So if you have any questions, please contact myself or Dr. Brown by our emails, or just come to our office. Mike's office is at the end of the hall on the left, and mine's on the 3rd floor in 301A. But if you are interested, please just send one of us an email and let us know so we can kind of start planning this trip to see if it'll make, because we do need several students for this trip to make.
Oh, can you have like some financial aid to help this out?
Do you know, Mike?
I
It's
don't know
distance.
off the top of my head.
Oh, probably not because distance, but I'm not sure.
Look into that.
Any other questions? Only 2 people have died on this trip.
I think there's one more question.
How long does the trip last?
So it's about 8 days. So we're in the field by 8, so we'll leave here and then we're going for 8 days. And so the one thing that we try to do for this trip, as opposed to our distance learning trip, is our distance learning students have to fly in to Oklahoma City. So we're really set on those dates. But if we say the dates are going to be from, let's say, the 5th through the 14th or whatever, there's a little flexibility, a day or two, where we might say, let's wait another day because the miles look better towards the end of the trip. So we have a little bit of flexibility, but it's basically an 8-day trip, like all of our field courses. So. I was joking. No one died.
Oh.
And no one laughed. So. All right. Any other questions?
Okay, so this is our first meeting we've had since our 5th keynote speaker was announced. Dr. Louis Lee is going to be coming to symposium. For those of you who don't know, he is the director of the National Weather Service, and he is also now a candidate for president of the World Meteorological Organization. So it's a pretty big deal. And he joins an already fantastic lineup. Dr. Eric Rasmussen is over at Vortex Southeast, who that project is the weather balloon project that we've been participating here at Mississippi State. And Janice Holmes is the chief meteorologist at WNBC in New York City. Aubrey Urbanowitz is a chief meteorologist in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and she completed a distance program here.
She's also in like Weather Brains.
Yes.
Just know that.
And then Will Simmons is a hurricane hunter who went to undergrad here at Mississippi State.
Yeah, so basically we have people from everywhere, and if you haven't registered, you should.
Do it now.
You can do it right now if you want. I'll give time. No? Alright, so we really want to throw pie in our professors' faces. At least I do. I think they want it too, yeah? Yeah, anyway, so we're at 50, somewhere between 50 and 55 right now, which is really great. But a lot of y'all haven't registered. It's a lot of people not from here. So it's not going to be that hard to get to 100 and then 125 and then hopefully 200 because I'd love to see pie in Dr. Rogers' face. And whoever, so one of y'all will get to throw the pie in their face. We're gonna randomly choose someone who is registered and paid. We have like a generator that chooses people. Anyway, so if you go ahead and register and pay, you'll get your name put in there to get to participate in this. So I recommend registering now. T-shirts. If you can design a T-shirt better than Alex can, which isn't hard, please submit your design online.
Email.
I like. Yeah, just email us and you can send it in. If you need help with that or have any questions, want some of the graphics, come talk to me or Alex and we can get them to you. Yes.
Is this for the symposium shirt or is this just a general?
This is for our symposium T-shirt. So every year we have like a T-shirt that represents the conference. I can pull out one of last year's in a little while to show you all what it was, but just something unique, weather related. And we usually put like our logo on the front, in the top, and then something on the back that's creative. So if you have any ideas and like have an idea but like can't make it, bring that to us as well. We'd be happy to hear it. And someone can hopefully design it. That's someone that's artistic. Anyway, that's that.
This was last year's.
Here we go.
That was really great.
That's me. You're welcome. I'm kind of proud of it. And this is where you registered. If you need our website name, we post a link a lot on our social media. You can find it. If you want me to help, come find me and bring me your computer. I will show you. It's very easy. You can pay online when you register, but also if you would like to, you can pay in cash. Just come find an officer and tell them it's your symposium registration. It's $25 for students and $20 if you're a member of, like you paid your dues and you're a member. You can also Venmo us your registration fee. Just, I know some of these ways are easier than paying with a card online.
Okay, so we talked about the last meeting. The American Meteorological Society is entering its 100th year. So we're still doing the social media campaign. We're encouraging you to post your meteorology story on social media with that hashtag IamAMS. And then the other AMS thing is, you remember a couple of us were at the AMS annual meeting in January. Those recorded presentations are now on their website. So if you saw something on social media that you were really interested in, or if you just want to see how those meetings work, all of those presentations are up there. Now, I will warn you, those presentations are just the slides with narration over them. It's not actual video of people talking. Well, not like them physically presented. It's just like what was on the screen and what was being said. So some of it's really interesting, especially the student conference. All the panels are online. So check that out. You don't need to be an AMS member to watch it, I don't believe. You just go to the program for the event and they're all there. So.
All right, I'm going to invite Dr. Brown up to help with resumes. copy of yours?
Yes, I did.
If not, if you could pull out your laptop and have your resume pulled up, that'd be great. If not, pull something out to take notes.
You want me to?
Just hold on to it for now. Ready, Mr.
I have class.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I go from 9:30 to 9.
Oh, no. Uh-uh. 9 o'clock?
All right, guys, do y'all mind getting in groups of like 3 or 4? Circle a big group, or I'm gonna put y'all in groups if you don't do it yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes. I guess I'll work with you guys.
Yeah.
I'll work with you guys.
Yeah, anybody who did not get to sign in, the sign-in sheets. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go over a few things here things that, we don't get a lot of resumes here. Sometimes we do. Sometimes when people apply for graduate school, they do send us a resume. But just talking with people that I know in the business and things, just some hints on how to dress up your resume, maybe make it a little bit unique to you. So first, what's the difference between a resume and a Vita? You've probably heard of a Vita. Resumes you typically use for getting a job, they should be short, 1-2 pages at the most, and a summary highlighting your education and your experience. A Vita, we use them here to keep our jobs, basically. I think my Vita right now is 22 pages long. It's a very detailed thing. It's everything you've ever done, every paper you've ever written, every presentation you've ever given, those types of things. And so they are a little bit different, but they both kind of tell the same story. One's just a summary. So when people are reviewing resumes, most of the time they give you about 6 seconds of review time for your resumes is the average. Now, meteorologists I found get a little bit longer. It's closer to 15 seconds. And the reason is people are looking for specific educational components. So do you meet the civil service requirements for the National Weather Service? Do you meet the standards set by the AMS for their certified broadcast meteorologists? Do you meet the NWA standards, those kind of things? So those are the things, the components that they are really looking for. So put that information where it can easily be found somewhere near the top of your resume. Since now we're living this electronic lifestyle, you're going to be emailing your resume more likely than not than handing them a paper copy. Have a professional email address that you are sending that from, okay? Porkeeter 2008 is not a professional email address. So if you don't have one, use your MS State account right now as you're a student, or develop an account that has some professional meaning to it.
Like pork?
Huh?
Do you like pork?
Love pork. So it's not professional, but we need to wrap up. I'm hungry. Make sure that you update your personal information. Don't use outdated contact information. The one thing that people do with resumes is sometimes they spread themselves really thin and they don't continuously update it. You have to always be working and updating this. Use reverse chronological order. So put the newest stuff you did first. If you're a master's student, list that before your BS degree. Don't go BS and master's like most people think. List your higher education before your lower education. Okay, use something that people can read. This seems like common sense, 10 to 12 point font. Don't use goofy ones, right? That make you look like a child typing on a computer. Times New Roman, Arial, or Verdana are good fonts that look professional and stand out. If you're applying for a job, read the job description a few times and really try to figure out what they are looking for, and then tailor your resume for that job. So you're going to have a resume, but you should have slightly different versions of that resume for every job you apply for. Okay, I know a lot of TV jobs are going to be very similar, but you need to tweak it. You need to make it a little bit unique to that station or to that job. As I say here, stay away from jargon, because sometimes you don't know who's making the first cut. Some of these jobs, they might get 150 or 200 resumes to review. A news director or a hiring manager may not want to look at every one of those, and so they'll ask an assistant or somebody from HR to make this first cut, okay? So, as it says there, don't say things like, I cloudify prognostic data for uninterrupted workflow. Just say what you mean, that you digitally back up all of the data that you use, okay? If that's something that you do in your job. Don't get fancy, don't get jargony with what you're saying. Throughout your resume, try to use different verbs, okay? Don't say managed, I managed this 3 times in a row. You know, find different ways to say basically the same thing, that you managed or you orchestrated, you developed or you advanced, you know, whatever the case might be. Try to stay away from using the same language, right? We hear it a lot. People say literally a lot. They literally say literally a lot, okay? Don't do that in your resume. Make it clean. Track yourself and use numbers when you can. People like to see numbers, okay? So use your professional social media accounts and keep track of the rate of shares, new users, and all those types of things, okay? Numbers stand out, especially in the broadcast industry. If you're already in a broadcast position, inquire about the viewership or rating of your shows, those types of things. People want to see that if you're trying to move up to higher markets. If you're operational, ask about increases in accuracy, new customers gained, etc. Okay? Use numbers where you can. People like numbers. So things like, my social media followers increased 12% during the January 21st snowstorm. Okay, that gets people's attention. They're probably going to go and check out that account. Tornado warning, false alarm rates decreased 6% after I initiated a digital dual role workshop. Whatever the case might be, use numbers to justify why people should be looking at you for that next step, the interview step. So some things here to do, mostly do, a couple things not to do. Make sure you use summary statements, not paragraphs. Don't be very verbose, use bullet points. Summarize your skills and self-evaluate. This is kind of a new one that's come about in the last couple of years, and I'll show you some examples of what I mean here. People want to see you list your skills and then you self-evaluate yourself on those skills. Use unique yet professional looking resumes, and now a big trend is to include your picture on your resume. Make sure you save it as a PDF, not as a Word file, not as whatever, a Google Doc, whatever. Save it as a PDF so that the formatting stays the way that you intend it when you ship it off to somebody through email or whatever. Make sure you have other people proofread it, make sure it makes sense to them. Have people that are outside of meteorology proofread it. If they can understand what you're trying to get hired for, then some hiring manager can probably understand that as well. Obviously, don't lie or fabricate anything on your resume. It'll come back to bite you. And then I say here is a maybe, use a service like Mixmax or Banana Tag. That's just, it costs a few dollars a month to use services like this. But what it does is it will track when your email got opened and who opened it. And so if it's a hiring manager or something, you can see when they opened it. You could send a follow-up email saying something new about yourself to try to hold their attention. So there are services out there that you can use that will track your email, show you exactly who opened it, and those kind of things. Clean up your online profiles. People are going to look, and there are sophisticated software algorithms now that these hiring managers or companies will pay to run a background check on you through all of your social media accounts. Okay. Now, things that you posted the text, that will almost always be there and be able to come up on these search protocols. It's a little bit more difficult for images. So if you have stupid images laying out there of yourself, take them off. It's harder for these software programs to find the images of you. But it's a weird game because people will tag you in pictures and there's very little you can do about that. And so I guess my best advice is don't put yourself in situations that are going to come back to haunt you down the road. So here's what I'm talking about the self-evaluation, a couple of different looks to some resumes. I kind of like this one here myself. But over here under skills, it might be, say, things like Baron, using the Baron or radar or whatever the case might be. And you self-evaluate yourself. And then here, this is personal things like communication, organization, are you a team player? This is kind of a new trend that has cropped up in the resume things, but you're seeing it over and over, and a lot of people like it. As I said before, make sure that your education stands out as a meteorologist. So right here, meteorologist BS, Mississippi State University, education exceeds civil service standards for a meteorologist. Okay, same type of thing over here. Bachelor of Science, Mississippi State University, have met all education requirements for AMS and NWA skills. Make sure people can see that, bold-face it, do whatever you need to do, because those are important components to being a meteorologist, is your education. And they'll be looking for it. Make it easy for them to find. If you want to use a website as a portal for people to get to information or things about you, keep it very simple and clean. Make it very easy for you to update and make sure that you do keep it updated. Don't put forecasts on there. This isn't a site where you're giving information. This is just a site sharing yourself to a potential hiring manager. And as I said there, if you commit to a website, keep it current. So something clean, okay? It just shows what you are. You're a meteorologist, your name, where they can find you on all your social media accounts. And then if they want to go further, they can click on find your resume. They can find a video reel if that's something you want to have up there. They can learn more about your education, those types of things. So a very simple, clean, professional looking website that is easy for you to keep updated. That's the main thing. Don't have your last update 6 months ago. Okay, it should be a week or 2 weeks ago. Keep things interesting. All right. So based upon kind of some of those things that I told you that you should be looking for in terms of things like education, things like things about you that are important to a potential hiring. Take your group, take your resumes, and now review them, okay? Each person needs 20 seconds for each resume. And out of your group, pick the best resume, not because you know the people here. Try to put yourself as a hiring manager who doesn't know any of the people in your group. Try to pick out the best resume, not the best person necessarily right now, okay? So go ahead and do that. Again, take 20 seconds per resume per person, so the whole thing should take about 4 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. And then I want to see your best.
Timing 20 seconds.
I always think I was no patient. That around the one. I know.
Well, it's just not even. It's just.
I've got my resume. I've got my resume.
I mean, I'm saying, look like it.
Oh, no. Well, even like my GPA will go by.
Oh,
People are
well,
really
sure.
looking at it, but especially like it doesn't put you right there, but LOS is such a big dominant thing wherever you go, people come on. I didn't realize people took pictures now. That's
Are you done? Yeah, I mean, just review each one for 20 seconds and then pick out your best one.